All right. Good evening. Welcome. It's Friday. I've been out today. I've been in meetings. And so the first thing I wanted to do is kind of react to Liz Truss press conference. Obviously, there's been a lot of news today. Kwasi Kwarteng has got the sack, a big U-turn on another element of the mini budget. I was in a meeting. I was rushing to finish the meeting so I could actually listen to the press conference in full. By the time I got back to the car, the press conference was over. So I've heard little, I guess, outtakes from the entire uh, press conference. But I want you to, well, let's watch it together. And I'd love to know your thoughts as we go through this. It's definitely a talking point at the moment across social media. So let's pay attention and listen in to what Liz was talking about today with the press conference, and I will try to basically just break down some of the stuff that she's talking about, and also offer some thoughts, maybe some practical tips as well as we go through this. So don't want this to be too long. Let's crack on with this press conference. See what she has to say.
Good afternoon. My conviction that this country needs to go for growth is rooted in my personal experience. I know what it's like to grow up somewhere that isn't feeling the benefits of growth. I saw what that meant, and I'm not prepared to accept that for our country. I want a country where people can get good jobs, new businesses can set up, and families can afford an even better life. That's why, from day one, I've been ambitious for growth. Since the 2008 financial crisis, the potential of this great country has been held back by persistently weak growth. I want to deliver a low-tax, high-wage, high-growth economy. It's what I was elected by.
Some of the stuff she's referencing there in terms of the performance of the UK in terms of growth. There was a report that I came across maybe a couple of weeks ago, which talked about our performance in relation to the likes of France and Germany. And she is right. We are lagging behind in terms of growth. But with that being said, though, this is the first thing. Why is it amiss in politics now? There's been a lot of backlash over the last, 2 weeks since this mini budget was published. Mortgage rates have gone up. The pound has absolutely plummeted. Like, the Bank of England had to step in. There's been material impact on people, like day to day, like mortgages going up hundreds of pounds per month. But it feels as though she's come straight off the bat defensive, obviously making a case, which she's obviously entitled to do. I get that. But where's the human conversation, right? I would have maybe opened this with, look, guys, understand this has been a really difficult time. The markets have reacted really, really poorly to our budget, so on and so forth. Let's address some of the things that have happened over the past couple of weeks and see if there's a way forward. That's how I would have maybe expected this. Now, considering that I literally finished my meeting at 20 to 3. And bearing in mind, this started at 2:30. This means that this press conference, where obviously she would have had a lot of questions, we have not heard the questions just yet, lasted just over 8 minutes. So for me, this is a bad start. And through this, guys, I would love to know what you guys are thinking and how this comes across, because it's almost as though I'm going to justify what I was thinking, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Let's just carry on.
By my party to do. That mission remains. People across this country rightly want stability. That's why we acted to support businesses and households with their energy costs this winter. It's also the case that global economic conditions are worsening due to the continuation of Putin's appalling war in Ukraine.
Oh my God. Okay, listen. So this is the first bit that really, they have talking points. God. Okay. Let's calm down a little bit, because my initial reaction is anger, first and foremost. And tell me if I'm wrong in this, but the amount of times I've heard her speak and she says, she references the war in Ukraine. The global economies are suffering, recession, inflation, all this kind of stuff. What you did alongside Kwasi Kwarteng caused the pound to crash, caused for mortgage rates to go up significantly. That wasn't the war in Ukraine, Okay, she keeps referencing back to this one thing, which yes has had an impact, but it's not the root cause of why you've had so much bad press and backlash over the last couple of weeks. It's completely removed. And this is the bit where you start to dislike politicians because, again, where is the human conversation, right? Just say, look, I got it wrong. I got it wrong. There were miscalculations. We need to rethink it. This is what I'm proposing. Not referencing something that has not, like, people aren't stupid, okay? People are very intelligent. People understand when there are two things that are far removed and don't connect. People understand this, and this is the thing that annoys me with politicians and politics. They think you're stupid, and okay, let's just carry on.
And on top of this, debt was amassed helping people through the COVID pandemic. But it is clear that parts of our mini budget went further and faster than markets were expecting. So
basically, okay. So she's not taking responsibility for the plan and for the fact that you undermine confidence that the markets have in our ability to pay back our debt, bombing the bond market, causing the Bank of England to prop up the pound. You're just saying, well, the markets weren't quick enough to catch up, weren't savvy enough to be on the same page as you, after you didn't even get this properly costed by the Office of Budget Responsibility. Oh my God.
The way we are delivering our mission right now has to change. We need to act now to reassure the markets of our fiscal discipline.
Okay, so at least there's a little bit of okay, we need to act now. We need to reassure the markets. Hopefully she carries along the same tune the entire time, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But let's just see.
I have therefore decided to keep the increase in corporation tax that was planned by the previous government. This will raise £18 billion per year. It will act as a down payment on our full medium-term fiscal plan, which will be accompanied by a forecast from the independent OBR.
Now she's going to bring in the OBR. Now she's going to bring in the OBR. So what she's suggesting here is, because in the mini budget, what was suggested was that there wouldn't be an increase to corporation tax up to 25%. They were going to keep it at 19% to make it more attractive for businesses to reinvest money into their business to effectively grow. They're going to keep what Rishi originally proposed, raising corporation tax to 25%. Now, look, I made a video where I talked about some positive things in the budget, right? And this was one of the positive things that I thought, because for me, I think that reduce it or keeping the corporation tax at 19%, not increase it, will indeed encourage companies to invest more, to spend more money on R&D. And yes, it might have an impact on the government receipts of tax. About 18 billion, I think, is what I've been reading through today. But it would encourage investment, and you need that for growth. And if we do go into a recession, you need businesses to be in a position where they feel comfortable investing into it. On the flip side, though, I understand that it's not being costed. And now she's talking about getting the Office of Budget Responsibility into to kind of give a proper costing and whether this actually balances out on the books. Okay, we don't want to argue the merits and demerits of keeping the previously proposed corporation tax thing. That's for another video. But okay, let's go.
Whatever is necessary to ensure debt is falling as a share of the economy in the medium term. We will control the size of the state to ensure that taxpayers' money is always well spent. Our public sector will become more efficient to deliver world-class services for the British people.
Okay, look, well, let's just go back there quickly. One sec.
The state to ensure that taxpayers' money, to ensure debt is falling as a share of the economy in the medium term. We will control the size of the state to ensure that taxpayers' money is always well spent.
We will control the size of the state to ensure that taxpayers' money is always well spent. That sounds like code to cuts, to spending cuts. That's what that sounds like. And this is, I think it was it 2-3 weeks ago? She was asked this directly. No, actually, yeah. Conservative Party conference. What was her name? I can't remember her name now. The journalist asked her, "Will you guarantee? Can you confidently say that there will be no spending cuts?" She said yes. She didn't even blink. She said yes. That statement right there says to me that there will have to be cuts, which makes sense from a fiscal point of view, right? Because you've got to balance the books. If you're saying you want to spend 60 billion, right? You've got to balance the book somehow. So you're borrowing more money, but you've got less money coming in. You've got to balance the equation. What she hasn't said there are going to be spending cuts, but she's used magic lingo to basically say there are going to be spending cuts. And now all eyes are going to be on October 30th when there's more detail on what's going to be happening with this budget. Okay.
Our public sector will become more efficient to deliver world-class services for the British people. And spending will grow less rapidly than previously planned. I met the former Chancellor earlier today.
Did you see that? Did you see the pause there? Let me just go back quickly, right?
Planned.
Pause. Pause. She knows what she just said. She knows what she just said. And I would love to have been one of the journalists in the room or a fly on the wall to listen to this, because I guarantee you there would have been mouths on the floor from journalists who, to be fair, would have known that this was coming, but wanted to see and hear how she was going to position this. And that right there is a nervous pause. That's a really, really nervous pause.
I met the former Chancellor earlier today. I was incredibly sorry to lose him. He is a great friend, and he shares my vision to set this country on the path to growth. Today, I have asked Jeremy Hunt to become the new Chancellor. He's one of the most experienced and widely respected government.
If I recall, Jeremy Hunt was in favour of a corporation tax being kept at 19%. Am I right? I don't know. Let me know if you've been following this. Let me know if I'm right or not. But I'm pretty sure Jeremy Hunt, I'm sure he was in favour of corporation tax being kept at 19% and not increasing.
Ministers and parliamentarians, and he shares my convictions and ambitions for our country. He will deliver the medium-term fiscal plan at the end of this month. He will see through the support we are providing to help families and businesses, including our energy price guarantee that's protecting people from higher energy bills this winter. And he will drive our mission to go for growth, including taking forward the supply-side reforms that our country needs. We owe it to the next generation to improve our economic performance, to deliver higher wages, new jobs, and better public services, and to ease the burden of debt.
Tell me what you think of this, please. So this is where they talk about these are platitudes. These are platitudes. These are lines that everybody can, I guess, get behind. If you're a rational person, of course you want growth. Of course you don't want high debt, right? As a rational person, of course you don't. The skeptics will say, well, actually, the party, that party, has had what, 12 years to deliver that? Nope. Where is it? So that right there is just platitudes. It's platitudes. It's saying something you think will hold water, but really the words are all empty. The opportunity to do that, you've had that opportunity. Nothing's actually happened. And now you're talking about lower debts, but we're borrowing even more money, and you haven't actually costed any of that either.
I have acted decisively today because my priority is ensuring our country's economic stability. As Prime Minister, I will always act in the national interest. This is always my first.
Acting in the national interest should have been actually having the mini budget costed in the first place. That's what acting in the national interest would have been. It's not to be gun-ho and very, I guess, over-enthusiastic, full of exuberism, and just putting something out that hasn't been looked at, to see whether it's fiscally viable or fiscally responsible. That would have been in the interest of the country. Now you have the markets completely lost confidence. And I was listening to a guy in the bond markets today. It's like, listen, if Kwasi Kwarteng gets sacked, that's going to be a positive. If they roll back the corporation tax at 19% and increase it to 25% as proposed, that's going to help with the bond markets. It will help steady the pound. But guess what's happening today? The Bank of England, the bond buying program ends now, literally now. So what happens to the pound over the next week is going to be really, really telling. There are already conversations amongst analysts. Let me just get rid of this very, very quickly. There are already conversations amongst analysts basically saying that if the pound begins to slide again next week, Bank of England is going to have to resume that bond buying program, which is, we weren't here 4 weeks ago. So how are we here right now? As a result of your mini budget, this mini budget, which wasn't costed, which wasn't thought through, that is against the interest of the nation, really, to be fair. So all eyes are going to be over the next couple of days, next week, beginning of next week, throughout next week, certainly towards the end of the month, because we need to know more of the details. I think from what they were saying, the 45p tax break was something like, it was only going to cost something like 2 billion or something like that, right? This rolling back and increasing the corporation tax to 25% is going to account for another 18 billion. I think the whole they were saying is still going to be around about 20 to 30 billion pounds that they need to balance the books by. So where is that going to come from? She's mentioned there are going to be spending cuts. Where? Do you want spending cuts now in defense with everything that's going on with Ukraine? You can't have it in health, surely. I mean, surely you can't have it in health. So where are the spending cuts going to come? The fear is that these spending cuts are going to come in social programs, which means that people who are already suffering the most in society are going to get even more help, basically just pulled out from underneath them, because somebody in office was over exuberant, over enthusiastic, didn't get things costed, and just basically messed everything up in 3 weeks. Like, it's crazy to me. Am I alone in this? Like, please do tell me if I'm alone in this, because I would love to know. But I think just the sentiment, listening to a load of stuff, it's just like, what on earth is going on? Like, do we have a bunch of amateurs, like, at number 10 right now? Like, what is going on? If this was a company, you're sacked, you're out, you're gone, you've got no job. Your reputation is done. But here we find ourselves having to contend with what now? The damage is already done. Interest rates are already up. Mortgage rates are already up. The pound has already suffered, wiped off billions, right? Off the values of pensions, investments. The damage is already done. It didn't need to happen. So what on earth is going on? Let's see what else she has to say, because like I said, I've not heard this. I'm just reacting as I go along.
I want to be honest. This is difficult, but we will get through this storm.
You know what? You should have opened with that. That should have been the first thing that came out of her mouth when she came out, I think. This is really, really difficult. We're going to get through this together. I appreciate and understand that there have been some miscalculations. Let's talk about how we're going to move forward. That should have been the first thing. That would have been reassuring.
We will deliver the strong and sustained growth that can transform the prosperity of our country for generations to come. I'll now take questions.
Interesting. Let's go.
Can I start with Ben Riley-Smith, Telegraph?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Clearly a difficult day. Can you explain to the public why you think you should remain as Prime Minister, given you jumped to key tax cuts that led you to be elected and got rid of your Chancellor?
I'm absolutely determined to see through what I have promised, to deliver a higher growth, more prosperous United Kingdom, to see us through the storm we face. We've already delivered the energy.
I don't want to be a cynic. I don't. And this channel isn't about politics, but politics does have an impact on markets, which is why I'm commenting on this kind of stuff. But given what you just heard there, does that not sound like platitudes? Doesn't it just sound like words that are being said, words that I guess she thinks will resonate with people and win people over? Does that not sound like a platitude? Because it does to me. I just there's one thing being dogged, being determined, and that's probably one of the things that you could give her. Like, she's got thick skin, or at least she looks as though she doesn't want to give up. Right? That's one thing. But you need to have competence to go along with it. And it feels as though while she's got all the doggedness and determination, she hasn't got the competence to do the job. And that's what's really, really worrying. And anyway, let's see the answer.
Energy price guarantee, making sure people aren't facing huge bills this winter.
I'm going to try and keep the language clean. It's just hard, especially on a live reaction. But don't, like, you're going back over the things that you've already done. Yes, you've already done them. Okay, that's fine. You don't. It's like you know that you're at fault, and the only way you feel you can win people over is to remind people of what you've done for them. And it's like, it's your job to do that. You don't get a thanks for it. It's your job to do that. You had to do that. It was your responsibility to do that. Don't expect a thank you when it's your job to do it. And
but it was right, in the face of the issues that we had, that I acted decisively to ensure that we have economic stability, because that is vitally important to people.
It's vitally your role. It's your job. You're not going to get a pat on the back and a well done for doing what you're being paid for. Like, it's your responsibility. What do you want? Like, congratulations, a trophy. Like, it's your job as Prime Minister to do these things. Like, you don't get brownie points for doing your job.
People and businesses right across our country. Harry Cole.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Prime Minister Harry Cole from The Sun. You were the one that wanted to cut the 45p rate. You stood on a platform to win the leadership of the Conservative Party on a platform to cut corporation tax. You and the Chancellor, the ex-Chancellor, designed this budget together, in lockstep, we're told, at times in secret, the two of you. He has to go because of the fallout from it. How come you get to stay?
All right, listen, so that's a great question, right? Like I said, this isn't a political channel. I don't care who you voted for, what party you align yourself to, but this is a really good question. If Kwasi Kwarteng is gone, how can she still be in a job? And there's a lot of people right now talking about a general election. Do you think there should be a general election right now? Because I think internationally, the damage that's been done, which is a self-inflicted wound, by the way, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to recover from that for a period of time, especially when it comes to the financial markets. The financial markets operate on confidence, right? And the minute you damage that confidence, you've spooked people. They're going to be very, very tentative about coming back to invest until they see something concrete. So the question and the argument is, how can she remain in office if she's done so much to damage market confidence and confidence in her government? And if we really do need growth, then how can she remain in office and deliver that growth? Because in order to get growth, in order to get a component of growth, which is outside investment, you need confidence. And the markets have no confidence in her or Kwasi Kwarteng or this government currently. So if you really wanted to achieve growth and the interest of the country is at the forefront of your mind, surely it is they need to go. There needs to be a general election, new party needs to be in, and at this point, it's going to be Labour, 100%, right? So I'll be interested to see what she says.
My priority is making sure we deliver the economic stability.
So she doesn't answer the question. She pivots to the lines. This is the frustrating bit about politicians, right? Just give a human response. Just give a human response. Just say, look, I appreciate that there have been mistakes, and I apologize for those. What we're going to do is we're going to do X, Y, Z. Why can't they ever speak in those terms? Like, why? Why? Why is it so difficult? I do not get it. It's party lines. It's pre-prepared notes. It's
stability that our country needs. That's why I had to take the difficult decisions I've taken today. The mission remains the same. We do need to raise our country's economic growth levels. We do need to deliver for people across the country. We're committed to delivering on the energy price guarantee, which people are already seeing in their bills. But ultimately, we also need to make sure that we have economic stability, and I have to act in the national interest as Prime Minister.
You need to leave then if it's going to be in national interest, because the markets have no confidence in you. The markets have no confidence in you. So if you're acting in the national interest, you need to go. And this is where politics gets extremely frustrating, right? Because she's only been in there, for a month? So how bad is it going to look for the Conservatives if they have to get someone else in, right? And there's already rumours of Rishi Sunak waiting in the wings. Like, how bad is that going to look? How bad is that going to look? But there is no confidence. There is no market confidence in her. The Tories, period, being at the helm at this point. And so if it is in the interest of the nation, then she needs to be gone. Clearly, there are pre-selected questions. I don't know. Maybe there are pre-selected questions, right? It feels like she's looking for the person who's going to ask the question. She's got a list of names, so she's probably been prepped around what the question is going to be, so she's got the answers prepped already.
Chris Mason, BBC.
Excuse the bluntness, Prime Minister, but given everything that has happened, what credibility do you have to continue governing?
What I've done today is made sure that we have economic stability in this country. Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor.
Wrong answer, Liz. The answer is, I completely and utterly understand how our credibility as a government has been damaged over the last 3-4 weeks. But guess what? I've tried to listen, I have listened, and we are going to take steps to amend that. That's the right freaking answer, or at least a semblance of the right answer, not double back on the things that you have done, which is your job to do in the first place. Like, wrong answer, Liz.
Is somebody who shares my desire for a high growth, low tax economy. But we recognise, because of current market issues, we have to deliver the mission in a different way. And that's what
the current market condition was brought about because you were just too gung-ho and you didn't have anything costed. That's why the market condition exists as it currently is. The market condition is there is no confidence in government. So with your credibility shot with the markets, you have no credibility. You have zero credibility. She's not even answering the question. She's just talking just twaddle out of her freaking backside.
That's what we are absolutely committed to do. Achieving that stability at what
Platitudes.
Is a very difficult time globally.
Listen, tell me whether you think that was written word for word off a script, right? Because that's what it sounds like to me. There's no inflection in her voice, right? When someone speaks and you finish a sentence, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, there's an inflection down. That felt like, I'm just going to read this off a piece of paper, and then it comes to the end of it, and it's on to the next question. It's just, oh my God.
Robert Peston.
Prime Minister, the former Tory Chancellor, Philip Hammond, has just said that you have totally trashed the Tory party's election-winning reputation for economic competence. Will you apologise to your party?
Well, I am determined to deliver on what I set out when I campaigned to be party leader. We need to have a high growth economy, but we have to recognise that we are facing very difficult issues as a country. And it was right, in the national interest, that I made the decisions I've made today.
It wasn't in the national. Oh my God! you can't say, especially when it's demonstrable that what you did was a negative impact to the economy nationally. Oh my god. I understand. I see, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about my own kind of like thought process. I'm trying to be as balanced as I possibly can. And demonstrably, what you did wasn't in the interest of the nation. What you're going to do, what you're doing right now, isn't in the interest of the nation. It isn't. But I can get how you might have felt it was back then. But now you're already here and you know that you basically fucked up. Admit that you did. I mean, gee, just admit that you did. Just admit it that you messed it up, right? But politicians cannot admit that they're wrong. Like,
to
why?
restore that economic stability so we can deliver, first of all, helping people through this winter and next winter with their energy bills, but also making sure that our country is on the long-term footing for sustainable economic growth. Thank you very much, everybody.
How do you end? Like, so bearing in mind, there are people who have had mortgages, right? Who first-time buyers who've not been able to go through with it, people who are in positions where they had their deposits lined up can't now go through with it because interest rates and affordability is now kicked off. No apology. And okay, look, let's not say you've got to apologize because maybe you don't, right? Maybe you just don't want to apologize. But at least give people enough time to ask questions that are pressing and burning. 8 minutes after everything that's happened. Anyway, I don't even know what to say if I'm completely honest. I think, where's the pound? Okay, I need to have a look and see where the pound is. Bear me 1 second. Let's have a look and see where the pound is because I would love to know where the pound. Where's the pound today? Currencies. Okay, so the pound right now is at £1.11 to the dollar. Let me just get this up. Bear me 1 second. What are we doing? We're doing that one right there. Okay, so let's go here. Thank you. Right, so this is the pound right now. You can't see that. Let me just move this around. Ah, there we go. £1.11 to the dollar. All eyes on this right now. And through next week, all eyes on the pound. Because if the pound starts to slide next week, then either we will see Bank of England resume the bond buying to prop up gilts, prop up the pound, or we'll basically see some kind of intervention with interest rates. And interest rates at the moment with mortgage payments going up is just going to be bad news. I mean, the inflation number out of the States yesterday wasn't good. I've got to talk about that separately. But look, we've been on it for quite some time. I would love to know what you think. General election or not? Because I think a lot of people are of that persuasion that now there should just be a general election. I don't think that this situation isn't sustainable. It's not tenable anymore. Like, we need something different. Like, we just do. So what do you think? General election, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. This is something I don't normally do, but I just couldn't not kind of like provide some thoughts on this. It's just crazy. And have a good weekend. Don't let it ruin your weekend.